In the early morning hours of April 9, 1940, Norway, cold, mountainous, and long committed to political neutrality, found itself thrust into one of the most dramatic and complex military operations of World War II. The German invasion of Norway, part of the wider Operation Weserübung, was not just a sudden attack, but a massive strategic gamble that would reshape the course of the war in Northern Europe. Today, we revisit that extraordinary campaign, exploring why Germany targeted Norway, how the invasion unfolded, and how the Norwegian people resisted one of the world's most powerful military forces. To understand why Norway became a battlefield, we must first look at the geopolitical landscape of early 1940. Although the war had begun in September 1939, Scandinavia remained mostly untouched. Norway declared neutrality, hoping its remote geography and diplomatic distance would shield it from conflict. Yet Norway's strategic significance was far greater than it appeared. Germany depended heavily on Swedish iron ore to fuel its war machine, especially during winter months when the Baltic Sea froze. During these months, the iron ore was shipped through the Norwegian port of Narvik, making Norway an indirect lifeline for German industry. Additionally, Norway's long, jagged coastline offered deep-water ports ideal for German naval forces, including U-boats that would later take part in the Battle of the Atlantic. Control of Norway would deny the British Navy access to the North Atlantic and potentially open the door for German naval bases close to the United Kingdom. In this sense, Norway's neutrality was not something Hitler could tolerate for long. Likewise, Britain also considered occupying parts of Norway to block German access. Thus, both sides viewed Norway as a critical chess piece. By early April 1940, tensions were escalating. A series of British mining operations in Norwegian waters and attempts to intercept German ships signaled that the region was no longer safe from conflict. Unbeknownst to the Allies, Germany was already mobilizing. Under the command of General Nikolaus von Falkenhorst, a massive amphibious and airborne operation was prepared. The plan called for simultaneous attacks on multiple Norwegian cities, including Oslo, Bergen, Trondheim, Kristiansand, Stavanger, Narvik, and Egersund. It was one of the largest combined naval air-ground operations Europe had ever seen. Before dawn on April 9th, German warships approached Norwegian ports under the guise of peaceful intentions. The Norwegian coastal defenses, though outdated, were not asleep. One of the most famous moments occurred at the Osgersborg fortress near Oslo. As the German cruiser Blücher attempted to sail into the capital, Norwegian gunners opened fire, striking the ship with cannons and torpedoes. The Blücher sank, causing heavy German casualties and delaying the capture of Oslo. This delay gave the Norwegian government and royal family enough time to evacuate, allowing them to continue resistance from within the country and later from exile in Britain. Despite this early success, Norway faced overwhelming odds. German paratroopers landed near key airports, including the strategically vital Fornebu Airport near Oslo. Air superiority played a decisive role. The Norwegian Air Force, outnumbered and flying older aircraft, was unable to repel the swift German advance. In Bergen and Christiansand, German naval units succeeded in landing troops despite fierce coastal artillery fire. Trondheim fell shortly afterward, securing a central coastal base for German operations. In the far north, the battle for Narvik became one of the most intense engagements of the entire campaign. British, French, and Polish forces joined the Norwegians in a desperate attempt to push back the Germans. For several weeks, the Allied forces managed to retake the town and trap German mountain troops in the surrounding wilderness. However, the German units held out long enough for reinforcements to arrive, and the Allies were eventually forced to withdraw following Germany's broader invasion of France in May 1940. Throughout the country, the Norwegian military showed remarkable resilience. Small units retreated into the mountains, using the harsh terrain to their advantage. Ski troops, familiar with the extreme winter landscapes, carried out ambushes and delayed the German advance. However, the imbalance in firepower, manpower, and air support eventually wore down Norwegian resistance. By early June, the situation was dire. With the fall of France and the evacuation of Allied forces from Norway, the Norwegian army had little chance of continuing organized resistance. On June 10, 1940, Norway officially capitulated. The government and royal family fled to London, where they continued to lead a government in exile. Norway, like Denmark, would endure 5 long years under German occupation. The occupation of Norway differed from that of Denmark in several ways. Germany installed a puppet government under Vidkun Quisling, whose name has since become synonymous with traitor. German forces heavily militarized the coastline, constructing hundreds of bunkers as part of the Atlantic Wall. However, the Norwegian resistance movement grew stronger over time. Sabotage operations, clandestine newspapers, and intelligence gathering became widespread. One of the most famous acts of Norwegian resistance was the sabotage of the Vemork heavy water facility, which played a vital role in preventing Germany from developing nuclear weapons. As the war turned against Germany, Norway became increasingly important to the Allies. Resistance fighters provided crucial intelligence for the D-Day landings, while Norwegian sailors played major roles in the Atlantic convoys. Finally, on May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered and Norway was liberated the following day. Crowds filled the streets, waving flags and celebrating the return of freedom after years of hardship. Today, the German invasion of Norway serves as a powerful reminder that even nations far from the main battlefronts can be drawn into global conflict. Norway's experience reveals the strategic complexity of World War II, the vulnerability of neutral states, and the unwavering courage of ordinary people resisting overwhelming odds. It is a story of invasion, resilience, betrayal, and triumph, one that continues to shape Norway's national identity to this day.